Alright. Now, something that I want to get off my chest is that I have been reading a lot more Vaughn lately. I've definitely started looking into different sources, different venues of inspiration, because I'm always looking for truth. I'm always looking for some semblance of understanding why people do things that they do. I guess you can say that it ultimately boils down to a metaphysical question: why are we here? Which, even if this world wasn't as retarded as it is now, that's still an important question to ask. Because, believe it or not, it's very connected. A society or a civilization that can place itself in this state of metaphysics where it knows its function, it knows its purpose. That's a good civilization, damn. And part of my transitioning was guys like Arini who helped me out. Thing is, there's a lot of, while he has been a great gateway drug into giving me more right wing thoughts, there's also the issue that he himself isn't that fulfillment, that natural conclusion that I'm looking for. Because it's one thing to be right wing, it's another thing to follow through with it. Go through all the stages, the phases, the transitions. And in this transition, I've been able to, because it's still kind of hard to explain what being right wing is. Arena made like a fucking 3-minute long video, and I still don't know what the fuck it means. And part of the reason is that Arena is part of the Manosphere, which is composed of two different segments. Men going their own way, which is a different count. They're both counter actions of feminism. The men going their own way are more in the liberal socialist side, where that's kind of the side that's all about reversing who gets the privilege and the government assistance, and basically who gets their dick sucked by Uncle Sam, I guess. Not Uncle Sam. Nah. Uncle Sam just wants you to join the army. He doesn't necessarily want to suck your dick. But in thinking about that, it's occurred to me that, okay, here you got the neoliberals, the new lefties, but the men going their own way. This is supposed to be the better group. It's more libertarian esque in the sense that it favors old school classical liberal values of freedom and even some elements of equality. But it it doesn't really, it's all about independence basically. It holds on to those same values, the liberty, brotherhood, equality thing, except with independence in mind, where nowadays there's no independence in mind. It's all about being dependent. And Arini says it himself, he doesn't like hierarchy. He likes seeing independent guys. He makes 20-minute long videos saying this. I'm the king of rambling, but I could say this myself. The nigga doesn't like hierarchy because he likes independent people. He thinks that's what's going to save this civilization. Having people that are more independent. If anything at all. And I see a lot of good things in independence. Don't get me wrong. Like, when you say I'm an independent guy, or That's a positive quality. That means you can handle yourself. You don't need to be micromanaged all the time. But if you're making that into an ends of its own, that's not good. Like Aaron Clary talking about how he doesn't want to have kids. You know what? He doesn't have to have kids. I understand that. I'm not gonna curse him out for that shit. I mean, to be honest, I'm not even sure if I want kids myself. After all, these bitches is whack. I feel like if I nut inside them, I'm gonna get like fucking level 25 frog wart herpes, cancer, fucking turn into a maverick, geostigma shit, or a raccoon virus. These are some ratchet assholes. I don't want to fuck with any of them. But still, they like to brag about how they're independent and they can still fuck niggas. And you know who that reminds me of? This is gonna sound really, really fucked up, but it reminds me of my own fucking mom and shit. Because she has the same attitude. I don't need a man. I can handle my own finances independently. I have the charisma, which she does. None of this is a lie, but you can see where this isn't really what builds a civilization. At the same time, she already has 2 kids, so she's at least done that. So when Vaughn calls these guys conservative antinatalists, I'm not really surprised. I mean, someone I used to speak to a lot, I mean, not to a lot, but about a lot, Walking Mr. E, I was a big fan of the guy. He says that the natural conclusion of right-wing thought is anarcho-capitalism. Think about that for a second. That's not true. And the natural conclusion of leftism is communism and fascism, maybe National Socialism. That's not a logical narrative. It doesn't really match up. Where you could assume that fascism is sort of like the middle ground. Communism in and of itself is right wing. Same thing with, well, National Socialism, middle ground too. But the real right wing ideologies, the feudalism, the monarchism, those kinds of ideologies, maybe some form of a republic, like the old school ones before it turned into pussy shit like this kind of constitutional republic. Shit like that. Yeah, I'm speaking at a higher level in this video in terms of what I usually talk about, which is one video I even mentioned it's myself where I mentioned natural rights versus human rights, and I lean towards natural rights, which I still do, despite the fact that I understand that rights are not a good thing for government. Government functions via negativa, or however that Latin phrase is coined, where I don't know what's best for you, but I certainly know what's wrong for you, and in many ways that's kind of true. I may not know that the sober life is the best life for you, but I definitely know that overdosing on alcohol isn't going to be good for you. Of course, there's holes to this logic. I mean, what is a negative statement and what is a positive statement? For all you know, liberation could be seen as insurrection. Well, not necessarily, but you can see that for every positive definition of word, there's a negative one too, when it's a cancellation of the other, which is all a negative is basically. At least I think it is. I really need to work on my logic. But other than that, Am I saying that you need to be a fucking have like 20 kids up in this bitch to replenish the fucking population? No, but this kind of attitude that you need to be independent instead of putting up with fucked up people is imperfect, and those imperfections are not just trivial but serious, because little knowledge is bad knowledge. You need to get the full scope of things. I could easily move on to something that's of my best interest instead of dealing with the bullshit of the day or tomorrow. But wouldn't it be better to strategize and think about how to solve those problems, those issues, and then move on to the next phase? I'm tired of dealing with a bitchy ass chick. Depending on how bitchy is, you can actually deal with a problem. You can communicate and shit like that. Although that's probably not the best explanation for what I want to say. All I know is that the Manosphere is definitely a. It was definitely a good step for me, but I moved past that. I'm not saying I'm better than any of the people there, but I have moved past that mode of thinking, because the whole I'm independent, self improvement, I can do what I want thing, it doesn't work. It can only make you fucking miserable, because in that state of independence, okay, you've improved yourself, you've given yourself talent, but you're still atomizing yourself in some way, shape, or form. It's just doing so without the feel good government supporting you. Advances conservative anti-natalists, because if everyone had this mode of thought, human civilization would not survive. That's the truth. It's undisputed. We are to be independent when all else fails, and we can't be kids that need to be nannied around, but other than that, there needs to be this extensive mode of behavior. There needs to be this extensive family, this extensive treatment of one another. You have to feel insured, you have to feel loved. We're dependent in that much, at least. Human beings are social animals. I'm pretty sure you could die of loneliness. And that is something that we have to take into account. Loneliness is a great threat. And it's probably getting worse. I mean, it's safe to say that people are much more depressed than they are back then, because everything is separating us. Whether it's the government or our very own principles. Things just make us fall apart. And being independent and trying to be strong isn't always going to work. Of course, you guys notice I'm paraphrasing, I'm acting like I know something you don't, and I don't. So that's my video. Hope you enjoy it. Peace out. I think you're going to make another one after this.